Okay, welcome everybody. This is Tesla Today, and my name is Herbert. So we're going to cover some of the things that happened in the last 24 hours. The big news, of course, is Tesla. Elon was visiting China, and he met with a bunch of ministers and a lot of other top-level executives there. And one of the big rumors is that he oversaw and he's going to launch the new revised Model 3 Highland. We're going to talk about that. Also, there's a clip that we're going to play that mainstream media, CNBC, is actually now talking about Tesla being an AI company. So this is new for us, and we'd love it whenever we see that. Let's go. And we've got Jan visiting us. He's got a YouTube channel called Tesla Fix. He's based in Europe, but he's gonna share us a lot of information that he's got. So thank you so much, Jan. Appreciate you joining.
Thank you, Herbert, for having me. I'm pretty excited for this episode because I think those topics are very important for especially the future of Tesla. And yeah, a lot to cover today. Yeah.
Yeah, there's many, and there's lots of things going on. So let's get started with first this tweet from this person Kunu, who said that on CNBC just now. I'm going to play the clip, and we're going to watch this. Where this is shocking. CNBC talking about Tesla as an AI company.
I'm still in good positioning here. I think to make it really easy for the person playing at home is you want to stick around. It's got to be above the 200-day moving average, which is right here, slightly below $200, and big fat round numbers. You want to see it hold this little breakout because everyone's talking about this being a very good AI play with autonomous taxis and the like. It's a battery play, it's an energy play. Ford's coming to use their charging play. It's the premium name. So it's not a car company, just a car company. It's an energy company. It's a charging company. It's an everything. It's an everything company. Spoken like a true bull.
Banging the table.
Yeah, nothing more bullish than a bulled up bull.
Well, I like his hedge. I think if you look at Qs, you're trading at a 75 RSI. If you look at the semis, by the way, they're over 80 and haven't been this high outside of November 21.
What do you think, John? What do you think?
Yeah, pretty interesting that they finally said it publicly over there. So I think it's good that the wind is shifting a little bit here. I've recently had Alexander Mertz on my channel just last Sunday. And yeah, we talked about this very thoroughly because Tesla is an AI company, and we will feel that more and more when time will progress. When we are headed to 2030, I think then it will be very evident what Tesla prepared all those years. So yeah, I mean, if you put every puzzle piece together, then it paints a big picture. They have Dojo, the big neural net training computer, supercomputer that they are building. They have all those data points of those FSD cars that are already running in beta, also rolled out very widely now. And then they have the Tesla bot. So they have a lot in place to be that. And we even speculated about, okay, what does Twitter what does Twitter do in that picture? Twitter actually we came to the conclusion, like it was just an idea, so nothing like factual here, but we could imagine that they're going to train the language model with Twitter, more or less, and then they have a better user input via voice. That's good for the Tesla bot because you don't want to, talk or type something to your Tesla bot, giving him commands this way. Of course, it's going to be voice controlled and stuff like this. For example, yeah, Tesla bot, go charge yourself. Then he just walks up there. And you could even imagine that the car will remember the discussions you had with it, for example, and learn from your context then. And those language models now, if we've seen ChatGPT, what it's capable of, and especially with those plugins that you can adapt to ChatGPT. And yeah, you can really imagine that with X, the bigger holding company of Elon Musk, that he tries to like put every technology company he has inside of this umbrella, is pretty interesting to see. We have to really get into this and really watch out what's happening there, because I think it's probably very interesting. And yeah, because Elon Musk plans so far ahead, like over 10 years or something, like just like Jeff Bezos as well. I mean, they're very interesting CEOs, very high level performers here, and yeah, I think the investors sometimes tend also to be a little bit short term, and then they lose the vision because yeah, it's hard to predict what Elon's going to do, but he plans like 10 years ahead.
Yeah.
So the acquisition of Twitter, for example, is like he wanted to do a social media company before that. So yeah, it's a
What do you
plan.
think?
Yeah.
Some people are saying that Tesla is an AI company. We know
Mhm.
this, the folks who follow Tesla closely, but the world doesn't necessarily see this, and they certainly don't value it. And some people are saying that until you can see actual earnings flowing through and significant earnings, it won't be seen as an AI company. But do you think that just the fact that Elon continues to educate people and communicate that the Tesla is an AI company, you start seeing in news reports like this talking about Tesla as an AI company? Are we going to be able to take advantage of this bump that all AI companies seem to be getting? Of course, Nvidia had the famous bump
Mhm.
last week. Is there some way that we're going to do that, or do you think that it's just embedded? It's part of the company. It's going to take a long time before the stock is going to move because of this.
Yeah, I think it's gonna take time because financial analysts always look at like factual stuff happening in the last quarter, of course, and this is hard to predict. But this is a total new technology, a new forefront of technology. Those AI tools. I mean, we had it for years already, but still, ChatGPT was a special moment when this was released to the public. People really knew, oh, okay, this is where you can use AI actually, like hands on, and that way I can benefit already from this from these products. And now, yeah, I think it's an industry that is just in the children's shoes. I don't know how it's called in English. That's a German saying.
Yeah.
So it will take time, but I think at some point it will. You can model it into the valuation model of or the valuation of Tesla. But I think it takes time. It has to be, for example, FSD. You can put a price on that. That's SAS, software as a service
Mhm.
um, package that you already can buy. So this is something you can predict and model into the valuation. But I think the halo effects that are
Mhm.
happening inside of Tesla and all the Musk companies that is going to be happening will take some time. So I think, yeah, like you said,
Uh,
I would
yeah.
say it will take some time until it's into the
That's what most
value.
people are saying, but
Yeah.
I disagree.
You disagree
I
already? Okay. What's your stance
I
on it?
do. Oh, I just think that Elon has made it clear that he is going to do a full force. The reason why he said yes, I'm going to stay at Tesla is because I'm going to make sure that Tesla, XAI, and Twitter together is going to be able to show improve as we transform into an AI and
Mhm.
AGI company. And I think he's going to communicate this. He needs to, because
Yeah.
otherwise all the top engineers are going to go and fly off to OpenAI and DeepMind and NVIDIA.
That's true.
Uh, yeah, Elon's going to need to make a huge push saying, "Hey, we are an AI company. Here's why." And I also think that they're going to do videos of the bot. Now that they do regular videos of the bot, like once a month, I think people are going to be able to visualize the actual use of
Mhm.
this AI.
And the impact
Um,
of AI, yeah.
Remember before Elon actually said that he was saying, we really should do a regular monthly podcast on the bots. And I think it's time now that the bot can actually walk and actually do things. And they're going to need to do this. They need to attract the best engineers, and they can't be seen as, fallen behind. So,
Mhm.
the question is whether or not, if they do that just by talking about AI, is that enough to get a bump, or we're just too big of a company that it's not something that people they see this as a car company and that's the most revenue, and sure, AI is part of your thing, but it's not a big deal. So that part I don't know. Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah, me too. It's hard to see that because, I mean, for me, I'm a little bit more on the conservative side on this point
Mhm.
because, like, if analysts finally will
Yeah.
catch on. So I've also observed Tesla for a long period of time now, and there were so many points that I thought, oh, now they're gonna catch up. Oh, now they're gonna catch up, and now they're gonna catch up,
Yeah.
and it keeps on going. But it's great to see if we see this in the mainstream media now that they are talking about Tesla as an AI company. I think that's a win, and I think this has to spread and be more normal for them to talk about that Tesla is an AI company. Then I'm gonna be less conservative, I would say.
Yeah, well, that's the thing, right? Is like we are jaded because it's been many years where we
Mhm.
continue to say, why hasn't the mainstream media talked about us as an energy company or as an AI company or something like that? And though because you do that, you then think that it's not going to happen for years on end. Look at FSD every year; it's never here. But it's actually the opposite. The longer it hasn't happened, it builds up, the more likely it's going to happen. And so in the last earnings call, you heard several analysts ask about Tesla Energy. And now we're starting to see
Mhm.
people talking about Tesla
That's
as an
true.
AI company. And so then it just will finally happen.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah, that's true.
okay. Anyways,
Yeah, that's true.
all right,
Cool.
wonderful. Yeah, let's move on. That was great conversation. Thank you for that, Jan. I appreciate you. So let's go this one here. This is news that came out yesterday saying that NHTSA, the government agency responsible for the automobile industry, is proposing a rule to make automatic emergency braking mandatory in all vehicles and pedestrian AEB mandatory in light duty vehicles, requiring full crash avoidance, a shift that would make roadways safer for all. So this is a proposal that they submitted. I don't know how long it takes for that to approve, but I think it's a big deal. I think this is great because this is now kind of this rule. If this passes, it's going to be a law that all car manufacturers must have this advanced software that causes
Mhm.
crash avoidance. And in what I had heard before, Jan, what I had heard was that some companies don't have this ability to do this. We know that Tesla has it. Some car companies have this, but I heard, like, for example, Ford doesn't have this, and if they made it a rule, they would need to license it.
Mhm.
What do you know about this?
So from the German perspective, of course, because I'm located here, so from the German perspective, all the German brands, most of the German brands have this already in place. So the automatic braking. I don't know
Mhm.
about crash avoidance really, but I think I'm not sure about this. So please take this with a grain of salt. I don't want
Mhm.
to spread something I don't know. But I think Mercedes is very far with this already, and they really are good with their sensors. We all know that they really put many sensors into their cars, and it's almost like you can drive more or less autonomously on the highway already, in that sense that this crash avoidance is so capable that you can just stay in your lane, but no lane changes, of course, and stuff like this. This is also
Mm.
by law forbidden. Um, but yeah, so the German brands, I think they have this already, and I can imagine that there are some brands, of course, that are not having this, and they need to license it, of course. And if Ford doesn't have this, this is pretty interesting, and they need to maybe partner with Tesla, and this is probable because Ford already partners with Tesla on those charging infrastructure project they're doing together, and I think this was also, just by the way, great halo effect for the financial media to catch on. I think this is also something that they shifted maybe the perspective on Tesla a little bit more, and now they see it more positively. I think that's my assumption that I have, that they working with Ford together is a strong
Mhm.
signal that they don't want to crush competition. They want to help competition, and I think this will benefit Ford very much. And it's the best strategy they can do. If you can beat them, join them, and that's what they should do. And I think in that
Yeah.
case, also it's a great strategy for Ford or
Yeah,
companies
this
that
thing
have
about
trouble with
Ford,
this.
I'm not sure if that was real. This is something I heard a long time ago.
Hmm.
I don't know if that was real, so I think I need to look that one up. But
Hmm.
the thing I think we need to figure out is what you just said. This says make AEB mandatory, and that straight off just by looking at that, does look like it's something that most car companies should do. But then they say
Of
requiring
course.
full crash avoidance.
Yeah.
I don't know what
Hmm.
that means, but like you say, it's one thing to have a warning to say, oops, beep, you're
Hmm.
about to hit
Beep.
something and
Hmm.
wake you up. It's another thing for it to actually stop and then certainly it has to have be able to stop in certain, like really, really trustworthy. And then the other one is crash avoidance. I don't know what that
Yes.
means. And if it says full, that means to me that it needs to be able to maneuver out, which I don't know how many car companies. Anyways, if it's not the German companies, if it's not Ford, there's going to be some car companies that's going to need this.
Mhm.
And so I think we're going to hear more and more partnerships.
Yeah, and in
Hopefully.
this tweet for is that's the main point that is very critical, because full crash avoidance implies that really every crash. That means if somebody's tailgating you too close, that the car speeds up, and this sounds to me pretty much like FSD actually. So, or the FSD technology. So the
Yeah.
crash avoidance part of the code needs to be implemented in other cars. So I think maybe it's more than we discuss right now. I think many car
Mhm.
companies could benefit from this, but I'm not sure how far the Tesla's competition is in that regard. But I think full crash avoidance is a total different game than just
Yeah.
automatic braking and stuff like this. So that's just with the
And
proximity sensors, and yeah.
the other thing I think this portends, it talks about, is that this is NHTSA implementing another rule that says you must, use technology to prevent accidents. And I think that just means that, there's this concern whether or not they're going to slow down full self-driving and robo taxis. I think I would land on the other side, which is they've seen the data, and even what it is today, it's already has tremendous potential for truly being incredibly more safe than anything they have. And so they're going to keep trying these things. I'm just being maybe naive, but I
Hmm.
think that they're going to keep, they're, instead of being a roadblock about it, they're going to
Hmm.
help move it through. But that's one example. If they implement more of these, yeah, we're headed in the right direction. So that's good news.
I mean, NHTSA is for safety. So this is like
It's supposed
it's
to be. Yeah.
yeah, it's supposed to be for safety. So this means, of course, if the statistics, they don't lie, they know, they can look it up, the crash numbers, and compare it. And if I think on in this point alone, you can kind of see what exponential potential growth could look like, because if those regulations are implemented and NHTSA recognizes, oh, wait a second, we have to go the step even further than this. Look, Tesla, it's already working there. Why isn't this industry standard? And then they're gonna push this
Yeah.
technology forward, and that means the who is the only company that is prepared for the future? It's actually
Yeah.
Tesla, and every company that is more into, like, more a technology company than a car company actually. So yeah, very interesting development there, and this is of course big news actually.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Many of us are obviously very skeptical about NHTSA because of what we've seen them say and do with Tesla. But even Omar from Homar's blog, he's been saying that, you know, if you think about it, NHTSA has allowed full self-driving beta to exist and continue, and it's been
Hmm.
2 years now, and they haven't stopped it. So there must be a
Yeah.
reason why they haven't yet stopped it. Knock on wood and all that. We don't want to jinx anything, but you
Yeah.
you don't have to assume that they're against this. So
Hmm.
we'll see. Okay,
Yeah.
awesome. So the big news, of course, everybody's been following is Elon's visit to China. He's been busy. It says here he was there for 2 days, 44 hours, in China. Elon met with all these people. And look at this. Other than Cattle Chairman, the battery maker, the largest battery maker in the world, other than that, they're all foreign ministers. There's ministers, ministers, ministers. And of course, he met the Giga Shanghai employees. But these are all incredibly, high level foreign ministers associated with Chinese government. He's almost like he is acting like the foreign relations for the U.S. And yes, I've seen reports that other executives are also doing the same thing, like Tim Cook and Apple are there as well. But still, it's quite good that they're willing to meet with Elon, and of course they are willing to meet with them. And so it just first thing I think of is why hasn't the U.S. government rolled out the red carpet like these guys do for Elon? Because he can make things happen, right? So here's the beautiful photos of him. What I noticed when I saw this, Jan, is that he's very happy. He's like really happy.
Hmm.
I don't know if you
That's
saw
true.
notice that. Just
Yeah,
he's
he was
really
very yeah, bubbly almost. Yeah.
bubbly,
Yeah.
relaxed. But look at all these people that they take photos with him as they meet with them. So this one here says that Elon met Wednesday with the vice premier Ding, the sixth highest ranked leader, led by Xi Jinping. It's the first time Ding is known to have had a one-on-one meeting with a foreign CEO. So this is like big deals. This is a guy
Mhm.
really, really high up there. Another nice photo. And then this is the photo of him walking with the cattle CEO. So, the reason why they went there. Oh, so there's like several reasons why they went there. So let's talk about that.
Mhm.
The first one is this foreign relations. So he's this tweet here saying that the reason he met with the commerce minister is the two sides conducted extensive and in-depth exchanges on issues such as Sino-US economic and trade cooperation and Tesla's development in China. Um, it- they agreed that the US China relationship is not a zero sum game. Thanked China for its support and guarantees for Tesla's Shanghai plant during the COVID-19 pandemic, praised the vitality and potential of China's development. So, um, yes, what's your thoughts on this? I mean, like this concept that China is actually not, like they're careful about letting foreign companies come in. Uh, but my sense is that they're actually welcoming these large corporations, and Tesla's relationship and agreements with China is very unique. They weren't forced; they allowed Tesla to have its own solely owned corporation there. And but I think that China is realizing that they are going to be, as they've always been, a exporter. And so now they're creating technology for their batteries and for their cars, and they're going to export, right? I mean,
Mhm.
you're in Europe, so you're starting to see
Mhm.
the Chinese invasion there, right? So what's your
Yeah.
thinking about the Chinese men, like what their philosophy is?
So first of all, everybody has to know that China is the biggest exporter of Tesla cars, of course, and this is so important to know. The Chinese are very good in also in quality control. Before it was like, oh, made in China, that's
Mhm.
not good stuff. Made in Germany is the best thing, and yeah, now it starts to shift a little bit more, especially in the last like 15 years. It really like skyrocketed with quality control as well, and they learned a lot in production since the last 30 years, of course.
Mhm.
And so China is like mission critical to reach 20 million cars a year in
Mhm. Mhm.
2030. So yeah, it's good. I would say this was a lobbying tour, more or less, because he has to get the Chinese government on board, or the support to have ensured the support. And especially with those tensions the US has, he has to do something. I mean, he can't just sit around in the US, in Europe, or in Giga Berlin. He has to, yeah, get down to the ground and just, yeah, get shake some hands, like they say, and
Mhm.
especially because the Chinese factories are performing this well, and I mean, all the conflicts aside, if we look at it from a really like macro perspective, there you can realize that China, even if it's political a little bit problematic, we have to get along somehow. It's not possible. I mean, what can you do actually? Should you? There's no possibility you can start a war with China and something like that. We have already
Mhm.
those trade wars in place, which are horrible, and we have to arrange. I think in that sense, um, because it's a big market also for Tesla. I mean, China's plants are like, because they are the biggest polluters on Earth, one of the biggest polluters with India, for example, as well. The US is already also was very high all the time. Europe is a little bit better in this sense, but because they don't really produce heavy industry, we have less heavy industry. That's also a big reason, of course. But when somebody can reverse this trend of carbon emissions, then it has to be China, because they're the
Yeah.
biggest producers. So
Right.
the urge for them to come up with a solution is much, much higher. That's why they're
Mhm.
moving now faster and faster. And because China is such a big economy, they're going to grow more exponentially with renewables than Europe, for example, and also the US, I think. And that ties into the whole plan of the Communist Party, I think, that's why Tesla plays also a crucial part, because they can produce electric cars also for the domestic market there, which is also very interesting. So there isn't like it's not bad that Tesla is in the country, so they can have a supply of batteries, they can have a supply of cars as well. So I think besides BYD, of course, which is also very strong in China with the electric vehicle front. So yeah, I think it was very important that he went there. And yeah, it's complicated. VW, for example, also has ties to China for producing their cars, also in the Xinjiang region, which is very critical there, where they have camps and stuff. So it's a highly political, explosive topic also. This, so it's hard to arrange with this, but I think we have to grow together somehow. I can't see anything else, because then we have a conflict like in Russia. Who wants that, really? It's everybody loses in the end, I think. Yeah.
So the number one thing that Jim Chanos, one of the shorts for Tesla, that said was he's so against Tesla as an investment because he thinks that Tesla is too heavily dependent on China. And so I think that when you see this, like you said, this kind of press the hands and shake the hands and go out there and so well received by the Chinese government, it makes us Tesla investors feel a little bit better knowing that he's got the support of the Chinese government. So that's good news. I wanted to ask you what's happening with the Chinese car manufacturers coming into Europe. And you did mention that, of course, lots of the European brands are in China, but my understanding is they're doing very poorly.
Yeah,
European
of course.
brands are failing dramatically in China. That's what makes it even shocking that Tesla is not only doing well, but is number one car being sold in China. But all the other car companies, like the legacy US makers and even the European ones, are poorly. In the meantime, we're actually seeing the Chinese brands going into Europe, right? Can you give me an update on what's happening there?
So BYD, for example, released cars now. I don't know the names of the models, but they released some cars. I think they released over like 4 models or something here in Europe already. And also I forgot the name of the big holding company that is owning Volvo, for example, and Polestar in that regard also.
Geely or
Geely, yeah, exactly. Geely was it. And also MG is Chinese owned. MG is this small English brand that was existing. So the Chinese company is buying up brands in Europe, which makes sense because we had some Sayang cars already, which is a Chinese brand that I could see already on the streets here. But I think it's a good strategy. For example, Polestar is also actually a Chinese car, but a European brand, but it's a Chinese companies behind it from the production sense. So the design is European and everything, but of course the car is produced in China as well. So I think this will be more and more evident and become more and more common here, because we also are price sensitive. I mean, some people who have enough money to buy those expensive German premium cars, because we know German car manufacturers have the strategy to go into the premium segment. And now we have a huge market that is left behind. And that's where Tesla and the Chinese companies will eat up the market. Yeah, actually, because when Tesla are going to release a $25,000 car, they have a bigger margin than the Chinese brands even, which is crazy for me. So that means they can even produce better than the Chinese in some regards. So I think also because Tesla is so technology focused, that's why they are so popular in China. And if you compare it with VW, which has a horrible software, we all know that it was the CARIAD situation is a disaster, and many Chinese people really don't want to buy the car. And I think the government also does what the people want, more or less. If the demand is there that people want to buy Teslas, I think they're gonna allow it, but they're gonna keep them in check. Of course, we don't have to oversee this, that Tesla's going to be looked at very carefully, because they want to, of course, want their local produced cars to benefit from this transition as well. But I think Tesla has the best chance to establish itself in the Chinese market as well. If you compare to the German cars, which were very popular for a long time, because the premium market is also huge in China, and the problem was the software. It's always with the software, and VW invested heavily in new production facilities in Xinjiang, which I mentioned before, and yeah, this is a slap in their face that it doesn't work. Their strategy doesn't work, and the Chinese market is, I would say, even if they could come up with something, it could be too late. I don't know if they can catch on. So yeah, that's my opinion on this. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a win-win, of course. So China saw that there is this revolution of complete change to electric vehicles. They saw that there's going to be a complete change to robotaxi, and so they saw this an opportunity for them to take over and become a manufacturer of automobiles, which they weren't known for before, and then export that. And so having Tesla in their in their country helps them build the batteries. It strengthens BYD and Cattle there and others, and then they take that and be number two and or number one eventually. So
Yeah.
yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense. So anyways, it feels very, very good that
Mhm.
Elon went there. I think I heard that it's the third year. It's been 3 years since he was there.
Yeah, it could
But
be. Yeah. Where he
so
danced on
let's see.
stage. It was the last time. I think.
That's right.
Yeah.
So one of the reasons why he went there, people are saying, this one report, is that they are discussing the gigafactory expansion plans. So they
Mhm.
said here that the meeting with this Secretary Chen is planning to expand its production capacity. Also met with a cattle CEO, and then this part here I don't remember, but basically the company was failed to get approval from the Chinese authorities when they wanted to have a second assembly line. The new line was expected to double the capacity of the Shanghai plant to 2 million units per year. So for him to go there, maybe to kind of like push this forward now to either get a second line, but also expand the factory. This is great.
Mhm.
I think
Yeah.
this is going to happen. It sounds like it was a very useful thing. The other
Yeah,
big
but
news.
yeah, sorry.
Mhm.
Yeah, I
Go
just
ahead.
wanted to jump into here real quick, because what I've heard in the end of 2022, there were already expansions happening. So they, or in the beginning of this year, there were groundworks already done for the expansion of. There was a drone video, I think, of My Tesla Weekend. He covered this, was
Mhm.
pretty interesting. So I think this ties also into this story with this, because we all know that Tesla sometimes like just starts building and have a hanging approval, more or less, and if it gets approved, it's going to be approved, or else they have to stop the expansion. But I think they already started, so I'm not sure what the state of approval there is, if it's already approved or not. But it seems like on the factory floor, they really already did build something to expand. Yeah, that's just what I wanted
Okay.
to add. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's good. I mean, I'm expecting whenever Elon visits people, they strike deals, and so I'm expecting some
Yeah.
approvals and news out of this. It always seems to be good news. Again, he's look at his photo. His photo. He's just so happy.
Yeah.
Look at that. Oh man. So this is the
Yeah.
Giga Shanghai employees. Everybody's happy, and they're look at that. That's just a great photo. People are really just love that he's there. So the other news is not only did he go there to talk with the Shanghai government, but actually not just expansion of the factory, but also very likely approval of FSD. That seems to be something
Hmm.
that we're getting news on a regular basis that they're going to approve FSD, and I bet you this is again other reason. Do you have any
Yeah.
comments on that on
Yeah.
the FSD part?
Yeah, I think the problem with FSD is that it's I think it's the data flows to US data centers, and this is a huge problem for the Chinese government, of course.
Mhm.
So I think I'm not sure how far they are with this, but I think they're gonna, of course, have a data center in China and something like this. And I think behind closed doors they discuss much more than they're gonna discuss in front of the cameras, or where they shake hands. So I think it's gonna be maybe they talked about the plans that China has with expanding their sustainable energy thrives or yeah, plans they are having, and I also think that it's about data, of course, data security, and this means I think they're gonna have to get this approved. They have to or how do you say
Mhm.
produce the data or process
Mhm.
process the data locally. That's what I wanted to say. Yeah. So this
Yeah.
is my angle on this. Yeah.
That's a very, very good point. That's a good point. But yeah, I mean, they've cooperated quite a bit with each other,
Mhm.
so I'm sure that it'll continue. Okay, let's talk Model 3 Highland, the revised Model 3. This was pretty strong rumors coming out that they were going to actually um, show the Model 3
Mhm.
Highland while he was in Shanghai. But actually, what it turned out, because he's already on his way home right now, is that they probably showed it to him just for him to see the first production coming out. So this report says that the first cars coming off the line yesterday are prototypes, asking not to be identified. Da, da, da. The updated Model 3 is slightly longer and sportier than the earlier versions and has a sleeker interior design. So there's been a lot of rumors about and evidence that this Model 3 exists. So I wanted to talk to you about that a little bit more, what we think it is. And the other thing that
Mhm.
supports this, that this new revised Model 3 is about to come, which is June, by the way, because it's June 1st today. And the rumors that we were talking about a couple of weeks ago was that it was going to happen in June. And I was asking people, what do you think? And most people said, oh, no, it's not going to happen in June. This
Mhm.
revised Model 3 is going to happen in, Q3, Q4. It seems to be coming fast because here's one good example or one good sign is that Tesla is now offering a discount, $3,000 discount of new Model 3 inventory in the US. And they've also resumed discounts on Model Ys after small bumps. But this is 2 weeks ago, May 19th, they had offered a 1,350 discount. Now, these discounts could just be that as we know, with variable pricing, demand softening, just now that anytime demand just moves a little bit, they'll raise it, they'll lower it. So that could be that, but it could also mean that they're trying to kind of release the old inventory of Model 3. Just to remind folks, here's what the refresh Model 3 looks like. This was a photo taken, and there's many photos now that's been taken. So we know that there's something happening, but it's cosmetic changes on the outside and cosmetic changes inside. But I think the biggest changes are going to be the cost savings with the Giga castings, whether it's both front and rear or just the rear. I think that that's going to really make that's the really big deal, and we'll talk about that. But here's another version. They saw this being on a test track. There's a different kind of steering wheel. It's kind of
Mhm.
driven now through you can change the park and drive through the screen. This is another photo of it. So where do you sit with this? Do you think that how likely is it that the Model 3 revised Model 3 Highland is coming out soon and that's what's happening? Are these just rumors? Or do you think that yeah, it's who knows what's going to happen?
So the indications that we have already production models or like those prototypes we've seen is for me an indication that they're pretty far because it's not a new model because it's based on a model already. So the Cybertruck is a whole different category of vehicle, of course. So this means the timings there should be seen with or taken with a little grain of salt. The famous Elon delays
Mhm.
are there, also, of course. So I think we're gonna be very surprised with this model that it's gonna arrive earlier, in my opinion, because um, I think Tesla tries to be more secretive now with their stuff because they had so many leaks all the time. Also, those
Mhm.
leaks already went public. So I think it's gonna arrive earlier than we on average think
Mhm.
Tesla when they promise something that's going to come. And I think they're going to be more secretive with this and then just pop it off in a huge event. And for me, those indications are also that those prior events we had with Tesla, for example, the event we had for where they announced the plans of Giga Mexico, for example, and everything, it seems like there was a slot for a car reveal, but they just pushed it. That's what I thought all the time. I was like, maybe they had, or for example, now the visit in China, it could be also a possibility they could release it there, but they haven't done it. Or the shareholder meeting, they could have also shared already the thing. But I think also, as Elon indicated, they will have a huge event for this, especially, and then they're gonna like show the new
Yeah,
version.
they need to, it's called the Osborne effect. You don't want to show a new product when you still got the old product, and
Yeah,
so
of course.
they need to sell the inventory they have with Model 3, and that's why if you believe that these price cuts is a way to start getting that moving, they need to have the production line in place, and they've got that now with prototypes, the first ones, and they need to make sure those are going well. And then I think that there's been rumors that the production lines has been already revised, and hence that's why they're
Yeah.
able to do this.
Yeah.
So these rumors have come out to be. It seems like it's true because the new things we're hearing is it lines up right in line with this. So I do think that they're going to release this. The question is whether or not you think. So we both agree, and many of us I think agree that this Model 3 is a revised Model 3. That's a big deal, but some people don't. So here's an example of somebody. This is Warren Redlich, and he said, "I'm either about to be very wrong, or everyone else is about to be very wrong." He thinks there's no Project Highland. There are no major changes coming to the Model 3. Switching to rear casting and maybe front casting may happen, not much more than that. So his opinion is that sure, there's a revised Model 3, but it's just minor changes, nothing big out of this. His reasoning is that the Model Y is already a big seller. The Model 3 is not selling that great to what they thought because it's priced so similar to the Model Y. They're going to come out with this, the Mexico Gen 3 compact car. And so he's going, if you look at the Model X, the Model S, and maybe the Model 3, they'll just kind of de emphasize it. And it's there, but why would you continue to make changes to it? I completely disagree with that. I'm curious what you think. But in my mind, this is a big deal. And I think it's a much bigger deal than we all think. And you can see the celebration by the Giga Shanghai team. They took photos of it, and I think that it's a big deal because I think that the cost savings that they're finally able to put the Model 3. If you remember, the Model 3 came out in 2018, where they were going through production hell. They just needed to get a car out, and they removed a lot of cost savings that they wanted to add in there, which they eventually had in Model Y. Because the Model Y costs so less to make, they're able to reduce the product price of the Model Y to what it initially was supposed to be, and to the point that it came so close to the Model 3 that Model 3, why would you buy a Model 3? If you have 5,000 more, you can get the beautiful Model Y, which has so much better. And so Model Y became the number one sale. I think that if they put just the rear casting in and some slight changes to it, make it sportier, it's going to become a segment on its own below. They're going to price it to 35,000 is what I'm hoping they do. So Model 3 was always called the $35,000 model. When they finally get it to that level, I think it's going to be able to find its own legs and then become number two. Model Y is number one sales. Model 3 will be number two. I have a Model 3 myself. I love the car. And I don't know this theory that people have that, US market don't care about the sedans anymore. But I love it. And so then if they make it a little sportier, it's like to me, it's like the 3 Series, the BMW 3 Series.
Yeah.
It's cheaper, but it's sporty and people love it. And so I think if they could find a place for it, you can either get the cheap compact car that comes out, but it's going to be cheap and bare and it's going to be kind of like utilitarian. Then you're going to have the Model Y, which is bigger space, very functional. Then you're going to have this sporty Model 3 right in the middle, priced well. And I think that they're gonna that's what their place is for. But yeah, anyway, sorry about that. What do you think?
No problem. So first of all, okay, I have to structure my answer here because it's many interesting points. So I'm gonna start with the last bit you've talked about the Model 3, the category of the new Model 3. First of all, I highly disagree with Warren here. He has some great points already in the past. He made great points and also made great theories, but on this one, I highly disagree because I think we have the front and rear casting in the Model Y production. So they've everybody has to remember Tesla isn't a car manufacturer. Tesla is a factory manufacturer. They're going to produce the machine that's producing the machine. So it's all about the factory processes, actually. And the car is the thing that pops out of at the end. So they had improvements with the Model Y. Now they're going to adapt those improvements with the Model 3, but I think they're going to go further because they have Giga Mexico in the pipeline next. So this means to reach the $25,000 car, I think the Model 3 will be more closer to the $25,000 car than the Model Y, actually. So, and my theory is that they're going to revise the Model Y soon in the next stage. So the Model Y will be the outdated model then, because the Model 3 Highland will be the newer the version that has newer production methods. You can also see that the Model S and Model X don't get as much love as the rest of the cars right now. So this is also for me an indication that now the iterations just shift around down the pipeline, actually, and to the new production methods, and then they're going to go up again, I think. So even if they're going to, I don't know, scrap Model S, Model X for a few years, they're going to come back. That's just another theory of mine, but nothing to discuss right now because we're on the point of the Model 3 Highland now. So I think front and rear casting is the new thing that's going to go into the new Highland model. They're going to improve with every aspect of production. This will be the, of course, the newest iteration of their production methods. And then Mexico is in the pipeline, and then they're going to change, like I said, the Model Y along the way then afterwards, I think. Yeah, that's my theory on this. And to the design, the category that you've said, I think they're going to price it because the Model 3 should be priced $35,000 already, but they couldn't do it. So that's the problem. And it was so near the Model Y. They have a huge problem. And also, we all know that the Model Y is actually 80% the Model 3, and then 20% it's actually different parts then. So on the baseline before that, besides the rear and front casting, of course, and those new methods, the original Model Y that was released beforehand. I mean, this is too confusing what I'm talking about now. But what I mean is that this category is very important. Like you said, the sportier versions, and now we can really see the Mazda DNA that Franz Holzhausen came from design perspective, because I think the Mazda category is right in this lane. It's right in this price segment, more or less. They have very great entry-level sporty cars with high RPM. They always had that. That was the Mazda specialty. And also, like you said, the BMW M3, for example, is also a very popular model in that segment. And it totally makes sense because then they can differentiate the categories much more. And the Model Y is more... Yeah, because why should you pay the same amount of a Model Y for a Model 3 or close to that? So they have to really push them out in $10,000 increments, I would say, starting price.
Yeah. So here's a photo of this, right? So it looks so sporty.
And
it's so
very
sporty.
Mazda DNA, in my opinion. You can really see Mazda's or Franz Holzhausen's DNA there,
right? And so I think that almost. Yeah, I think that this is, because right now the Model 3 is very utilitarian. It's like it looks cheap. It looks beautiful, but it doesn't look anything different than Model Y. This is going to be sporty. And so then it really separates what you're getting from the Model Y and soon the compact car. I love it. Yeah. Okay. So we also heard that the Model S and Model X and Model S and the Model X are no longer available to be bought in Australia. End of an era. And that they also have, we've been hearing and more information, more announcements. The right-hand drive Model X is no longer available in Australia as well. And I think that was the case with the Model X in Europe. And I have a friend in Ireland who had said that getting rid of the right-hand drive version of this is worth $5 billion to Tesla in Europe. But we've also know that, Tesla should not, and I think they've made a decision to stop focusing so much on the Model S and Model X because they're just a blip because of the huge success of the Model Y and Model 3 and all the other cars and soon the compact. Why do you divert your attention to the Model S and X? And this is just one way to slowly stop focusing on it. But yeah, what's your thoughts about these changes for the Model X and S?
Um, I mean, I've highlighted this or like hinted at this in the
Yeah.
before the point we've discussed already, that I think that's slow. Like you said, they're gonna slowly reduce Model S and X sales because they're just a blip, like you said, and they're gonna focus on the Model Y, the Model 3 Highland, and then the sub $25,000 car. That's their main goal for the next 5 years, because this ties into the plan to reach actually those numbers of 20 million cars a year, or let it be conservative, 10 million cars a year. So they're going to reach the size of Toyota by not catering to the premium segment in that sense, and just let the German automaker take their great market share there. But I think they're going to come back to the premium segment. That's my theory, that they're going to go back to that segment. And also the Roadster is a very important vehicle as well. And we're going to do a side track here, that I think the Model 3 Highland actually looks very much like the Tesla Roadster. And I think this will be a visual DNA we will see more and more. I think also in the Model Y, they're going to revise the Model Y then and put it more into under one umbrella, a very sporty looking cars. And then they're going to, I think, split the designs into the CyberTruck design and the sleek aerodynamic design. So they're going to have the van in the CyberTruck design, that's my theory, and the other designs in the more sleeker Roadster style. Yeah, so just a small segue here, but
Did you
yeah,
did you
I
hear
think
that
Model X and S is going to be discontinued
you
sometime.
do think so?
In my
Okay.
opinion. Yeah, I think so. Sadly, because I love the Model X. I wish I had one, but it's too expensive for me.
But having said
Yeah.
that, the delay that they had with the Roadster has been
Mhm.
crazily delayed,
Yeah.
and rightly so. But he brought it up. And then apparently, just a couple days ago, I don't remember which country, but they apparently opened up reservations again for the Roadster, which is scratching
Interesting.
your head. Yeah. You're scratching your head, because why would they do that when it's been delayed? They've been talking about, in the last comment he made was it's going to be another year or two. And but anyway, so why are
Mhm.
they? I mean, they have to deliver the Roadster. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. And so maybe that's why they're doing that. But, okay, yeah, I just answered my own question. Maybe they have to do the Roadster because they promised it for so many people, but the S and X, they can slowly discontinue that.
Yeah, and also I think it's all about production methods here. And the S and X are like, that's the first iteration of their production
Right.
methods they have. And Tesla have two, or they're gonna switch now. They have the Model Y platform now. We can call it this way right now, even if it doesn't make really much sense. But then we have the sub $25,000 car in between there, and those are like right now we are near to 3 different production methods in the production, which is horrible. So I think they're gonna just cut one off and come back to it later. And I also think that the Roadster is also nearer to the Model Highland production. So it could be
Yeah.
that the Model 3 actually is on a similar platform than the Roadster, or something like that. So of course, the Roadster will have much less people will order the Roadster in comparison to the mass-produced cars, but I think they will have a lot of the same production methods down the hood or under the hood. Yeah.
That makes
That's my
sense.
theory.
Makes sense. I did hear that rumor as well, that the Model 3, the Highland, is very similar. Could be on the Roadster skateboard, and
Mhm.
then that makes sense. And then the Model 3, the Model XS that you just said is so old, they probably just said, you know what, we just have to let this go. And then now you've
Mhm.
got the Cybertruck, you've got the Model Y, you got the and then you've got the new next gen platform. There's just too many new, like you said, manufacturing is critical for them. So they need to make tough decisions. So, okay, interesting to see if what we said turns
Yeah.
out to be true. But thank you so much, Jan. I appreciate your time. You gave us an indication of what happened in China. And, being somebody from Europe, you're seeing the Chinese cars
Yeah,
coming
of
in,
course. Yeah.
flooding in there. And it'll be interesting. Okay. Thank you so much, Jan. Appreciate it. Thanks,
No
everybody.
problem.
Bye bye.
And bye, everybody.